Naomi season 2, issue 4. Brian Michael Bendis and David Everett Walker, with Jamala Campbell on the art. Of course, D arrived or crash landed back in the last issue, and that's kind of where we pick
Hard
up with
times.
this.
Hard times for D.
Yeah,
not doing well.
And Naomi doesn't know what to do. Her parents are having kind of a heart-to-heart moment when they hear the crash, and that's kind of what leads us into like going to check out what happened. And yeah, there's some nice layouts of like Naomi panicking, being worried about D. What should I do? Do I call an ambulance? She calls Kill X at the Hall of Justice, and there's no Justice League members there, but they have medical facilities, so that's kind of like the goal. So she ends up putting them in an ambulance and like flying the ambulance to the Hall of Justice. And D does wake up a little bit, kind of mutters a couple things. Eventually, sort of does talk about going to fight Zambado, and we get a great full page spread of like the two in silhouette going to war. But then there's a 2-page layout which shows that no, but he has like 5 or 6 lieutenants who all showed up, and then it was like, so it sort of presents the idea that D might have had a chance 1-on-1. Like it felt like a clash of the Titans when it was just the two of them.
He was, so he's like the Thanagarian Death Squad for a reason, right? Like he's a bad dude, but Zambado seemed to have an ace up his sleeve, and I like how everything's in silhouette because we're getting D's recollection of the story.
It works as well because like we're eventually going to see them fight Naomi, and the whole point is we don't want to spoil so this is like a tease without seeing it properly.
Right, but just for the story aspect of it too, though, is we're getting Dee's hazy recollection of it all, right? And it's being told to Naomi, who doesn't know who these, like, she knows Zambado, so you can kind of get details on Zambado and Dee, but the other ones that show up, Naomi's in the dark. I just feel that's a really good story piece for the art.
Yeah, a nice touch though is that they all in silhouette. There's that panel. It's another 2-page layout, but they're all lined up. But they all have like a little bit of color on them as well with the silhouette. So it's whether it's like the outline in Zambado, or like the one with the wings has yellow in the wings, or there's one that's got a bit of red in his tail. There's just a little bit of color to make it look a bit more playful.
And the chain thing too. That's highlighted. I've got a really there's a page coming up here where it's Naomi and she flies back home. And it does this thing where she's perfectly in the middle of each panel, and the panels are all like slanted in different directions, and the backgrounds keep changing because it's like there's the Hall of Justice in the first couple, and then she's outside, and then she's in the sky, and then she's standing at the crowd back in her hometown. And it really gives you this impression, like when you're watching like a movie or something, and they'll do that thing where they attach the camera to the body, and it's like they're sort of like almost teleporting because they're just like, and it represents the idea that she's so deep in thought and she's so worried about what's going on that she's barely even, she's on autopilot and she's barely even noticing that she's moving. It kind of gives you that sense going down this page. I thought it was really good. She's lost in her head, and we know that time's going on because of the change in scenery.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's real good. I didn't even think of that, but that is a good. Or even what that would look like in motion.
Or even like a character and like they're standing still, but there's like a time lapse going behind them. It's kind of maybe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea here is there's a politician who shows up and says, Naomi, like, you've brought all this stuff to our town. Things were quiet before you, and now it might as well be Gotham City with all the chaos that's happening.
Here's the thing, dude. F off. Right? She's a kid. B, this is really the first thing. Like, Superman caused more trouble when he flew through there and inspired her. This is one person that already lives in your town, right? That crash landed. But as he walks away, there's like a sinister smile on his face. Yeah. So there's something more to him.
Because he knows he's going to get more support as well, I think. This is going to work. This idea of like turning a group of people against her is going to work. Yep. And more to his point, as he's walking away, just at the end of this, the big cliffhanger of the issue is that the portal rips in the sky, and this was teased earlier, is that D going to there to fight Zambado actually gave because they want to come here. That's been their goal for a while, but since the first volume of this book, and Zambado now has a shortcut because D's went there and like returned. So the sky opens up at the end. It's a big 2-page spread, the last page, and it's like, Naomi, there's no Justice League to come and help you. They're all off on assignment. And so we've seen that they all kick the shit out of D, so now Naomi has to take them all on her own, which as a writing technique goes, this is a little simple in that, D couldn't do it. He couldn't fight all 6 of these characters on his own. But Naomi is probably going to just be able to do it, and let's scrape together the courage and the strength to fight them all. Maybe not right away. Maybe it'll be a good issue of like turmoil first. But
I do think we're gonna get a Spider-Man moment, right? This is still Bendis.
Sure.
Of the town coming around her, and that's what that the mayor is like. Oh, we don't want you here. You cause troubles. You're turning it into Gotham. But no, she's still, a kid of the community, and the community is gonna kind of, because that's what the bully coming to talk to her last issue. That's only nice to her because now she has superpowers. I feel that was kind of the seed of, oh no, this community is gonna rise up behind this girl. And, I don't know how much good that's going to do, but I feel that that's going to give her the hope and inspiration she needs.
I definitely think her father's going to put on his Ran suit.
I do too. Because him saying that he's homesick and the mom kind of gets upset. I mean, I knew where he was coming from, right? All of this cosmic adventure scene makes him like, oh yeah, I was a part of something. It's not homesick as much as it's nostalgia.
He's reminiscing.
The mom's upset though too.
It's making him reminisce because he's seen all these things that he's not seen in a long time, and it's giving him this fire.
Yeah, and I feel like he's got that suit in there, and D, he didn't fare too well, but that was on their turf too. We saw the Justice League had a hard enough time against Zimbardo in that world, So maybe, Naomi does have a better chance.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this issue. I'm excited for the fight. It's all smart stuff. The only critique I can really level at it is the potential for it to feel, and I'm going to use a wrestling term here just to sort of say what I'm going to say, but it basically feels it could feel a little like make Roman look strong, kind of
bro.
Like there's a little bit of that.
I thought that too, but I tried not to let it. Because I enjoyed almost everything.
Yeah.
But when it's like, I was like, well, Dee didn't stand a chance. How is she going to? And then that's when I thought about the Spider-Man of the community rallying around her.
I like that idea, actually. I do like that.
Yeah, because I don't want the idea. Like, I know, like, it's been thrown around online that maybe her code name will end up being Powerhouse because she is super strong and whatever. I don't like the idea of her being able to defeat these 6 people by herself. I feel like there's going to be a catch.
It mostly just depends how it happens. If she just narrowly sort of survives and holds them off long enough for help or something, that's fine. But
I feel like too though that Dee talked about how they used to fight each other, but then when they had a common goal of coming to Earth, they all lined up behind Zimbardo. So I also feel like that they might start, they could internally combust as well. But but what were you saying?
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with Naomi being on similar levels to Superman or being that powerful. Mm-hmm. But you've already told me that Justice League can't take on this team, and you've told me D can't do it. So and have her survive long enough to be impressive, absolutely. Yeah. But what you don't want to do, because I think Bendis can be guilty of this, is overselling his characters to be like, oh, they're the greatest and they can take on all the odds that no one else can, kind of thing.
It's the golden child whole thing.
Yeah.
Is this character can do it because they're this character, and that is why we have issues in wrestling of characters having a push, whether it was Cena or Roman or whoever. There's no justification in the story of them winning so easily.
You need the odds to be big, but you don't want to stack them so high that it just feels like a cheap thing.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and this may all be completely moot because it all depends on how they actually do this next issue. It all depends on that.
But and that's what drives me nuts about this book is because there's always that one little thing that's there. But I loved everything else about the book, whether it was the parents talking or her going to D, and D kind of being out of it and telling the story. And even her parents going to her friend to find out what's going on with Naomi. There's all these little character moments that Bendis is still so good at.
Yeah, and if anything, that's kind of the challenge of this issue, because this issue, because we're getting later in the story now, is inherently more plot focused than it is character moment focused. So that's a bit of a challenge. I do think it's mostly still really good though, and I would obviously have praised the art. I've talked about some specific moments. I'd add that final page where they're all coming through this tear in the sky. It's very obviously pointed and intentional that Naomi's quite small in that page. She feels tiny compared to these six, super powered like overlords or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So, like it's doing a lot of smart things in the art, and just the general art quality from Campbell is very, very pretty.
Top notch.
So, really good stuff. And there's some good stylistic, flourishes in there too. So, book's still really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it does this, because there's 2 issues of this left.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it's good stuff. So, what are you giving Naomi?
I'm giving this an 8.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with the 8 on this.
The art does a lot of the lifting there for me, though, because those pages of D fighting the bad guys, and even the parents talking have this, lightness to them.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it sort of almost loses a little bit compared to earlier issues because it's more plot than it is character, and the character is the better part of this book. But I think the art does then elevate a lot of the stuff that's in this issue, because it does play with how it handles it so well. You got all the flashback stuff from D being in silhouette, and that's very interesting and looks different from most of the other pages. And then the way it handles like Naomi's state of mind through the inventive paneling and things like that, like all great stuff.